Correspondent for Politic 365 and a political science professor at Hiram College in Ohio. And in Washington, CNN contributor and contributing editor to Newsweek and the Daily Beast, David Frum. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Okay, so about 2016, you heard Christie. He says he will be, in his words, more than ready. But the question is, will his party be ready to nominate him? David?
Well, it would be great if there were space in the Republican world for somebody who came from the Northeast and represented the traditions of Northeastern Republicanism. In the previous package, you spoke to a Republican consultant who defined the Republicanism of the Midwest and the South as the overall governing dominant tradition of the Republican Party. But there have been other traditions, too, in California, in the Northeast. If Christie can lead them, he could be an important force, not only for himself, but for the party.
I want to dig into that poll a little bit more that, Jim Acosta mentioned it in his piece. It's a fairly Dickinson poll. It shows Christie with very strong approval among New Jersey registered voters, 73%. But when you dig into the numbers, you find that Christie has broad support among some groups not known for favoring Republicans, 62% of Democrats, 69% of non-whites, 70% of women, and 62% of those who live in public employee households. And that's even as he made cuts to pensions and benefits in New Jersey. So the question is, can a Republican like that win in the primary?
I think, to be perfectly honest, he's about 40 pounds and a really good running mate away from getting the nomination, and those two things aren't easy to do. He's got to win the South. He's got to win the conservatives in the Midwest from Ohio, places where I'm from. And people like Christie, and they like the bluster, and they like the behavior, but the truth of the matter is a primary is a completely different animal. And he runs the risk, if he keeps being critical the way he is now, he runs the risk of becoming the next John McCain, the kind of guy who could win a general election but can't win a primary. So I don't think it's a shoo-in for Christie right now. He's got to be real careful over the next couple of years.
But David, everybody says that the Republican Party has to do soul-searching and it has to change. Might Christie force that change?
Well, those numbers that you're citing there are probably fleeting. New Jersey has been through a rally around the flag moment. They look a lot like George Bush's numbers in the 3 months after 9/11. I don't think he will be at 60+% among public employee households 3 months from now. That seems unsustainable as they remember the conflicts that you mentioned that he's been having with them. The goal here should not be for Christie to be a critic of the Republican Party. He needs to be a reformer of the Republican Party from the inside. He had a specific quarrel with Speaker Boehner. He's going to need not to continue that, but instead to cause the party to follow him.
Okay, so here's a scenario. Jason, I'll pose this to you. What if Christie said, hey, I really want to be president. I can't win a Republican primary, so I'm going to switch to independent or Democrat?
There'll be a massive and entertaining waste of money because no one's going to win as an independent in this country.
Well, what about a Democrat? What if he switches parties?
Even if he switched parties, I don't think he'd have much of an opportunity. I think there would be a lot of Democrats who would resist having him in the party. I think a lot of the Republicans would be exceptionally angry with him. And party switching, it's not just a matter of ideology. Your money's got to change. Your donors have to change. Your whole campaign staff has to change. I don't think that's a switch that Christie could make at any time unless he did it like tomorrow and have any chance of winning. He's going to even have a problem leading the Republican Party. I think there's a lot more soul-searching to be done, and really a lot of his behavior right now is about getting reelected, even more so than getting elected in 2016.
Okay, so David, it's kind of sad then that a guy who, at the moment, appeals across every major demographic in this country doesn't really have a chance to become president of the United States.
It's not sad at all, because we don't want this kind of finger-snapping magical approach to politics. Politics is a continuous process of education. So Christie's job right now, if he is going to be a serious figure, and not just a local one, he has to reshape the party. Long ago, a German social scientist named Max Weber said, politics is the art of drilling through very hard, thick boards. And that's what he has to do. He has to convince, he has to persuade, he has to lead. It's easy to criticize and easy to fight. You can get a lot of publicity that way, but change requires persuasion, and he has 3 years to do that. David Frum, Jason Johnson, thanks for the interesting conversation this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Her name might be a little hard to pronounce, but audiences they have no